28-year-old Cheryl Ann Birchall was a prostitute working in the Mayfield area in April 1987 when her body was found beside Throsby Creek at Carrington. It was a brutal killing, as outlined by Detective Sergeant Jeff Wright on NBN News at the time.
There was a bra around her neck and bruising, along with stab marks in the abdomen area.
Two young boys, 12-year-old Bruce Taylor and 9-year-old Anthony Tattersall, found the body while searching for wood to make a cubby house. Now, police say new technology has given them a fresh lead.
A number of exhibits that were originally located at the crime scene were forensically re-examined due to advances in forensic technology that weren't available at the time of the original investigation, and that's led to some new information being provided to investigators and has led to the case being reopened.
A thread of DNA has prompted police to believe that Ms Birchall's attacker may have been well known to her. In the last 24 years, the murder scene has changed from an industrial dumping ground to a modern and busy marine precinct. But police hope, despite the passage of time, that someone who knows who killed Cheryl Ann Birchall will now come forward. They've offered a $50,000 reward for information.
Today was the second day of the Drayton's inquest, with nearby cafe owner Damien Griffith the first witness to take to the stand. He described seeing a mushroom cloud of smoke billowing from the winery shortly after the explosion on the 17th of January 2008. He likened the blast to that of an exploding petrol tanker, saying it shook the windows of the cafe. Robin Drayton, cousin of blast victim Trevor, was next to appear. She described the moment she learned of his death, having raced to the scene after hearing 3 loud explosions. New South Wales Fire Brigade Inspector Brett Crotty then described his involvement after arriving at the blast site. He explained he asked Trevor Drayton's brother John what was in the wine vat that exploded, but John told him he wasn't sure. Inspector Crotty later approached Mr Drayton a second time and asked if it was ethanol that was contained in the tank. Mr Drayton confirmed with certainty it was. Another brother, Greg Drayton, also took to the stand this afternoon. Under questioning, Mr Drayton was asked whether an occupational health and safety plan was implemented prior to the fire back in 2008, to which Mr Drayton replied, "Not a full one to my knowledge." The inquest continues. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
The figures are simply shocking. The Hunter has more domestic violence-related AVOs than anywhere else in the state, and former St George player Nathan Blacklock, who's best known for this, has had enough of the crime.
It's a bit of a cancer in communities, you know. It affects everything in the community, as far as the town, your neighbours, your neighbourhood.
The program is called Let's Tackle Domestic Violence, where footballers sign a contract to protect rather than hurt.
There have been a few occasions where a few guys have committed domestic violence, and the actual team, the guys from the team, stood him down.
6 regional clubs joined in 2009. Now there's 17, including Lake Macquarie.
Everyone's taken it on board. All the players are talking about it. It's a good cause to get a part of.
People have made it be known to the club like they've gone through tough times and that, so we're there for each other.
That message was relayed today at Toronto High, as well as a stern reminder of the consequences. Kevin Mettam, NBN News.
To be able to give it to Newcastle, which is the birthplace of John Olsen.
I think the way that they've gone out and recruited, I feel lucky to be a part of, because I think they've, with Idris and Douglas and Champion, I think they've been some awesome gets. So I'm pretty happy with that.
He still has a year to run on his contract, but Corey Patterson was told on Friday he could explore other options. Today he put on a brave face as he prepares to undergo a minor neck operation.
That's my main concern at the moment, and getting that cleaned up so then I can go out and play footy and put my best foot forward.
He admits the news came from out of left field, and he'd like to speak to Wayne Bennett to clarify whether there's any chance of staying in Newcastle.
They're not making me go. They're not doing anything like that. So, there's always a chance. So we'll just have to wait and see in the next few weeks, I guess.
As for the rest of the squad, Bo Henry returns from injury to join Jared Mullen in the halves, but injuries to other key players mean Tyrone Roberts may not miss out.
Look, I've been really happy with Tyrone Roberts, and I'll probably make a decision a little bit later exactly how that'll go. But at the moment, we're expecting Bo to get the tick off, and I wouldn't be surprised if Tyrone plays a part in the team.
Keith Lalia comes into the side to replace New South Wales winger Aquila Uarte. Still on league, and the Knights All-Schools knockout got underway this morning. More than 5,000 students from across the Hunter region are taking part, and it's fair to say some have a slight advantage. Injured stars Kurt Gidley and Adam McDougall were on hand for a few autographs. Both players are still uncertain on when they'll return to first grade. The Mad Dog has missed several weeks of training because of a mystery knee infection.
No one really knows at the moment, but I'm just glad we got on top of it at the moment, and it could have been something a lot more serious. So I'm just glad that my health's a lot better now, and I'm starting to feel well again, and looking forward to getting back into training.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
William Rickard Bell told the inquest he was several steps behind Trevor Drayton when he was knocked to the ground by the blast which killed his boss and contractor Edgar Orgo and left him with burns to 80% of his body. He also explained 52-year-old Mr Drayton knew of the dangers of SVR, a highly flammable liquid which possibly ignited when Mr Orgo began welding a tank. Mr Rickard Bell told the inquest he was instructed by the chief winemaker to be careful with the welders around. The assistant winemaker, who now works at a vineyard in Orange, also said he and the 3 cellar hands knew which tank the SVR was located in, but couldn't say for certain whether it was labelled. He also couldn't say for sure whether John or Greg Drayton knew where the SVR was, but assumed they did. When asked about safety at the winery, Mr Rickard Bell told the inquest there were no signs indicating the presence of flammable liquid and he'd had no formal training regarding the handling of dangerous goods. Director John Drayton was next to give evidence, saying he wasn't responsible for winemaking and didn't know for certain whether SVR was in fact ethanol, whether it was stored on the property or what was in the tank that exploded. He also admitted there was no OH&S manual. The inquest continues. Lauren Bladwell, NBN News.
Last week, Marcella Hellett's life was turned upside down by a violent robbery.
I came through the front door. I was rushing towards the bathroom when I was just pushed against the wall. My head was banged on the wall a number of times. A knife was put through, to my throat.
The thief told her not to move, cut her throat, then stole money from her wallet. Police believe he got in through a broken side gate. The same gate Ms. Hallett says she'd been asking Apple Property Management to fix for almost 2 months.
They completely, ignore the request to repair the gate.
Apple Property, however, says it did what it could. It passed Miss Hallett's concerns on to the landlord, but was unable to do anything without permission. It says it will now release her from the lease and help her find somewhere else to live. Since the attack, Miss Hallett has been unable to sleep or work and has felt so unsafe in her home, she made the heartbreaking decision to move her children out.
I felt I couldn't fulfill my duties as a parent, that I had failed my kids by not being able to provide a safe home for them.
The property's owner is yet to comment. Madeline McKell, NBN News. Cyclists love the Fernley track, and it's easy to see why, but Councillor Aaron Buman has plans to make it much better and much, much longer. He wants the track extended over the next few years, right into the heart of Newcastle's CBD.
When the railway line is removed from Newcastle, that corridor is the perfect cycleway. So to ride from the CBD right down through Hamilton, pick it up at Woodville Junction and then straight out to Belmont, that is absolutely something that no city could offer.
He says the extended track could basically run parallel to the existing rail corridor. Starting at Adamstown, it could follow train tracks to Broadmeadow Station, head under the Donald Street Bridge, then go through to Hamilton Station and straight on to the CBD. Councillor Buman says all that needs to happen is for State Rail to come on board.
Because ultimately it's about positioning some of their fencing back, and that's really all it requires. There's room under all the bridges, and it's just a matter of following the track around.
He also wants a cafe and public toilets set up here at Cahaiba. Last night, his idea received the full support of Newcastle Council. Madeleine McKell, NBN News.
Could this be Australia's next wonder drug?
Well, this is a major advance in prevention of stroke.
Pradaxa has been 50 years in the making, and the results of trials have everyone sitting pretty.
This medication reduces the risk of stroke by about 70%.
56-year-old Kevin Swain is one of 14,000 people in the Hunter on Stroke Watch. They call it AF, or atrial fibrillation. The blood has a tendency to thicken, and that can trigger a chain of events that ultimately causes a stroke. It requires constant monitoring.
Just a simple change in diet can throw your warfarin levels right out. It means constant blood tests, constant what they call INRs, which is your warfarin blood thickness levels.
Warfarin has had a 65% success rate. Doctors hope this new drug, among others, makes the picture for sufferers a little clearer.
For us here locally, this is very important, but nationally and globally, it's a significant advance in what we can do.
Nat Wallace, NBN News.
What we get through the scholarship, students standing up and being proud of being Aboriginal students and making a change in terms of a positive for all Aboriginal students.
Come inside what was the John Hunter Children's Hospital. Today, the aim was to put some magic back into the life of this brave little boy.
He absolutely loves Harry Potter. He has all the movies and all the books, and he's excited to see the next movie.
He actually slept with his costume under his pillow and kept calling us into his room to show us his costume.
It's Ethan Harvey's 9th birthday, also his 285th day in hospital.
The Starlight captains and the teachers at the John Hunter School just make it so easy for him to be here and try and make things as happy as you can in the situation.
Ethan arrived at hospital critical with spinal and head injuries after a car accident. Mum, Dad and his 2 brothers escaped relatively unharmed.
Things are improving very steadily, but at first it was very hard because we didn't know what was going to happen.
Unfortunately for this boy from Muswellbrook, not even Harry Potter can cast him out of hospital just yet. But today at least, there seemed to be some magic in the air. Nat Wallace, NBN News.
Jeremy Brocky can't think of anywhere he'd rather be than Newcastle. Still, it's always nice to get the call up from his homeland. The 23-year-old is no stranger to the All Whites, having represented his country several times, but who's counting?
It was always a dream of mine to play for my country, and been lucky enough to play, I think, about 22 times now, so hopefully I can keep adding to that.
He'll rejoin his teammates on Tuesday to prepare for 2 friendlies against Mexico and our very own Socceroos.
Everyone expects us to do well now after we did do so well at the World Cup, so we have to go out there and give it our all every single game, and it's not going to be easy playing against Mexico and Australia, but hopefully we can get something from the games.
It's a far cry from last season where the midfielder spent most of it on crutches, but he says it's given him extra cause to produce more of this. And he can't wait to get back to his best, which shouldn't be too far off.
Been doing a lot of prehab and rehab stuff before and after sessions this year with the Jets, so I'm feeling good and strong right now. And
Kevin Metham, NBN News. Whether it's winning a trophy, making headlines or breaking records, it seems nothing can stop Taylor Simmons, accompanied by little sister Ruby and mum Fiona. This is one proud family. Father Stephen became a world water ski champion on one leg. Now Taylor is next in line.
Because of my dad, he used to be the world champion for a while, and he taught me a lot of things so I could come this good.
So good, she was the youngest person ever invited to compete in one of the world's most prestigious water ski events, the Moomba Masters. She went on to produce even better tricks at the Nationals.
If you looked at it from an under-17s point of view, she would have come fourth. At 8 years old, she's really firing it.
Now she's heading to America to train with the best, along with Ruby, who at 5 is obviously a natural.
The younger one just thrives off the older one. She wants to be like her, do everything like her. She seems to be picking up things a lot quicker.
Kevin Metham, NBN News.
Whether that's now or later, I don't really know, but in saying I'd definitely like to, at some stage, come back and finish my career here. It'd be good.
Anne Margaret Madison was arrested in King Street at 12:30 yesterday afternoon. It followed a 4-month cross-command police operation. The 57-year-old owns 2 Newcastle-based businesses, and in court papers tendered today, police allege she had sold a total of 43.9 grams of heroin across more than 70 occasions over the past 2 months.
We're alleging this lady is not your stereotypical drug dealer. It just goes to show that people of all walks of life are certainly involved in the illicit drug trade.
She's been charged with 68 offences. Police say the case highlights the importance of people coming forward with information.
It has been vitally important. We rely heavily on the community to assist us.
Madison's lawyer didn't apply for her bail and the case was adjourned to the 22nd of June. Madeline McKell, NBN News.
A new chapter in the story of the sleepy beachside suburb of Catherine Hill Bay is about to be written. The state government has approved a 556 home development and it's being welcomed by some locals.
It's taken a long while to get to this stage. The plans themselves are really well developed and well thought out, and we're happy with that.
Until we actually see what the revised plan looks like and that all the Commission's requirements are incorporated into this revised plan, we're going to reserve judgment.
Developer Rose Group is happy with the decision, which it says incorporates previous requests made by the community. The Catherine Hill Bay Infrastructure Group is confident the move will shine new light on the ageing suburb.
Well, it's just going to be a holiday town, isn't it? You may as well set up a major caravan park and just let everybody roll in and just stay when they want to.
Will this development save Catherine Hill Bay?
I believe it will.
Still a lot of work ahead of us. Our job now will be to monitor everything that's been done on this site, everything that's being put down on paper.
As well as the Catherine Hill Bay development, the Planning Assessment Commission has also approved a 190 resident lot subdivision on an 18-hectare site off Kangara Road at Gwendolyn. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Seven-month-old Evie is one lucky pup. 2 months ago, Hunter Animal Rescue volunteer Sarah Shanife collected her from the Cessnock City Pound at Curry Curry.
Last year we rescued about 600 animals and nearly 350 of them came from Curry Pound.
A council proposal to close the facility and send animals to the RSPCA shelter at Rutherford has the rescue group worried.
If Curry Pound does close and all the animals are forced to go to Rutherford RSPCA, and if we're not able to rescue them, then obviously their put-to-sleep rates are going to be higher.
And that's not their only concern. This pound can house up to 50 dogs at any one time. Animal rescue groups fear that if it closes, many of those unwanted pets will simply be abandoned or dumped in bushland. The council-owned pound has operated for half a century, but an Aboriginal land claim coupled with the state of its kennels and OH&S concerns has council officers recommending it be shut down. For the moment, the pound's fate hangs in the balance, with councillors last night deferring their decision.
We were happy that the vote was actually delayed and they're taking the time to see both sites.
Madeline McKell, NBN News.
Anywhere from a tertiary career right through to the trades and paraprofessions.
Hotel management and stuff like that. Medicine too.
I was looking for graphic design stuff today.
I've been getting information on primary school teaching and biomedical science.
Tamana Tahu debuted with the Knights as an 18-year-old back in 1999. He went on to become the club's leading try scorer for the next 3 years. It earned him a Kangaroos jersey and a chance to play for Wayne Bennett.
Obviously he's worked with Wayne before and Wayne's comfortable with it. T's obviously, made it known to everyone he's more comfortable in Newcastle, and we're keen to provide an environment that's going to get him playing his best footy.
The complete 360 is likely to be the final deal of his playing career. He left for Parramatta in 2005 before an ill-fated 2-year stint in rugby union. His return to the Eels attracted plenty of attention for the wrong reasons. Now he'll take one of those backline positions at the Knights.
Well, it doesn't really mean too much at the moment. Obviously, T can play centre and wing, and obviously we're still assessing, people in those couple of positions at this stage.
Ironically, news of Tahu's return came on the same day that the man who racially offended him a year ago was allowed back into the Blues camp. Legendary halfback Andrew Johns put the side through its paces this morning. Kevin Messam, NBN News. There were always going to be casualties in Wayne Bennett's vision for the Knights. Corey Patterson has been told to look elsewhere after 2012. Now it's Antonio Kafusi and Mark Tafua.
In the big scheme of things, it's given them an opportunity to go to the marketplace and find something else for themselves. Not necessarily does it mean they're leaving the club.
Coach Rick Stone denies it's affecting the team's performance.
They're all professionals. They all understand they've got to do a job. Whether they're on contract or off contract, they've got to play well and show our club or potential club that they're worth obviously contracting.
A photo shoot today livened things up. It was hard to tell who enjoyed it more.
Yeah, a couple of boys like it more than others. Bowie Henry really likes to get in front of the camera.
No, Marlo thinks just jam me up, I think. But yeah, no, it's not too bad. It's to help out the club, so anything at the club we help them out, we do it.
Henry is expected to return to the field this weekend from an ankle injury. Jared Mullen also can't wait to play after missing Origin selection.
I think this year more than any of them, I'll probably put my hand up, but it wasn't to be. I've got to get over that. I look forward to a big game this week against the Roosters and reassess things and see what happens from there.
Kevin Messam, NBN News. Off the field, it's all falling into place for Jay Strawn. He'll soon finish university and start teaching PE at Merewether High. On the field, the suburb is also close to his chest. After coming off the bench for New South Wales Country in Melbourne, the half quickly returned home for the Greens.
Flew back that morning at about 9 o'clock and up the freeway and straight to number 1 to play the Wanderers, mate. It's good.
So good, he scored 3 tries and had a hand in 2 others.
Club culture, love playing for the Greens and especially against the Wanderers, big grudge match. It's good to give him a touch-up.
At 21, the Caldwell Cup winner can't wait to rejoin his Country teammates when they take on City this weekend.
I'm still pretty young, as you know. I've got the cockatoo on the trip, so that's a bit annoying. But it's good learning development, and all the boys are pretty good about it.
The Greens sit well on top of the Newcastle ladder. Hamilton isn't too far off, and its coach Scott Coleman can't wait to have another crack at Merewether.
They're definitely beatable. Yeah, every side's beatable on its day, but yeah, they're by far and away the form team. Let's just hope it's a repeat of last year. They burn out.
Kevin Messam, NBN News. Speaking on home turf, Greg Combay took on the task of convincing members of the Hunter's rich resources industry that a carbon tax is a good thing.
Not be persuaded by emotion and fear campaigns that might be run.
Mr Combay says Australia's lack of climate change action compared to the rest of the world is an embarrassment. Others don't agree.
Our situation is quite unique. There is no other country that has so much accessible coal.
Mining companies just want to know the cost. Mr Combay hinted at $20 per tonne, but laughed off any further questions.
Certainly $20 is better than some other figures that have been bandied about in the last few weeks, but that's what time will tell.
Oh well, you've got to wait and see, I'm afraid. It's something that we've got to negotiate with the others in our multi-party climate change committee.
Until then, no one knows exactly what impact it'll have.
One of those areas, unfortunately, is sometimes in terms of jobs, but that's a little way down the track yet. It's a little bit speculative.
The government says more than half of the carbon tax revenue will go back into low-income households, the rest towards job creation and clean energy. Kevin Messam, NBN News.
For Nadia Orgo, this week was always going to be hard. She lost her husband Edgar in the Drayton's blast in January 2008. He was welding brackets onto a tank at the winery that fateful day. Reading a statement to the coronial inquest, an emotional Mrs. Orgo described her late husband as a truly wonderful man, the love of her life, her soulmate. Winemaker Trevor Drayton was also killed in the blast. His niece Kate choked back tears as she paid tribute to her uncle. She recalled fond memories of working with him at the family vineyard and told of her heartbreak at losing him. Earlier this week, the inquest heard claims a tank which contained 9,000 litres of a dangerous flammable liquid known as SVR wasn't labelled properly, and that a tank containing the liquid exploded, killing the two men. Today, Adrian Lockhart, who worked as an assistant winemaker at Drayton's in 1999 and 2000, told the inquest he quit over safety concerns, specifically relating to the storage, ventilation and security of tanks of SVR. Lockhart, who is now the CEO of a South Australian winery, said Trevor and Greg Drayton were aware of his concerns. After 5 days of evidence here at East Maitland, the inquest now moves to Sydney to Glebe Coroner's Court, where it'll hear from experts. The inquest resumes on June 20. Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
Students and staff came together at the candlelit vigil to pay tribute to a friend and colleague. The popular electrical engineering student's death this week has sent shockwaves through the uni fraternity. Last night, dozens of candles were placed around a fountain in the Auchmuty Library courtyard, a sign of sadness and a celebration of his life. The university has moved to remind its students about the availability of its counselling and chaplaincy services. And as the end of the first semester approaches, Lifeline's counsellors are preparing to be called upon.
And we often get a lot of calls from people that are very stressed around exams time for people that are uni and also doing their HSC, because there's high expectations for them at times.
Ms Kane says there are many resources available for anyone who finds themselves in crisis, and that talking to friends or trained professionals can make all the difference.
It is so important because sometimes sharing with someone else how you're feeling, being able to speak to someone that's not going to judge you or force you to do anything or pressure you in any way, can actually alleviate some of the stress.
Madeline McKell, NBN News.
With Achille Uarte unavailable due to origin duties, the loss of Junior Sau is a major blow for the Knights' backline, but the coach has options.
Look, we have got Junior Sau out at the moment and we're still making a decision on what's going to happen there. Possibly Keith Lira playing the centres and we're going to make a decision on the wing, but something we'll sort out tomorrow.
Isaac de Gois passed today's fitness test, as did Bo Henry, who comes in at the expense of Tyrone Roberts. But his form against the Warriors and on the training paddock means he's still a chance of forcing his way onto the bench prior to kick-off. Shannon McDonald, meanwhile, is confident he's overcome a shoulder injury he picked up on Sunday.
Shoulders put up well, trained well this morning with it, so make the decision tomorrow, but at the moment it's all good.
Following a disappointing collapse against the Warriors and a week where several players were told they could shop around, Rick Stone has called on his men to rise to the occasion and focus on things they can control.
We understand it's part of the game and we have spoken about it. We won't speak about it a lot and we're moving on to get done what we need to get done, and that's win some games.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News. Coming off a disappointing 2010, South Newcastle flew under the radar at the start of the real NRL season.
No real expectation at all, which is sort of good for us. So we go in there, no pressure on us, just go out and play football.
But now wins over heavyweights Maitland and Wyong have put the competition on notice. Nathan Hinton's form has been a contributing factor, especially his man of the match performance against the Roos. Having been named in the Newcastle representative side, Hinton is currently training 4 nights a week, a far cry from last season where work commitments limited his time on the park.
That helps a lot, actually touching the ball before I actually play, so yeah, getting to train, it does help a lot.
Edgeworth's Gary Wilson believes training is also the key if the defending NBN State League champions can climb off the bottom of the ladder.
We believe we're as good a side as any. We're confident enough to say that as well. It's just a matter of taking what we're doing on the training paddock and transferring that into points on the weekend.
Injuries and suspensions have contributed to a poor start, but the new coach won't make sweeping changes. However, he is on the lookout for a new defender after deciding to hang up his own boots.
I've enjoyed it, to be honest. You just can't try Cruyff turns on your own box, and that's what happened last week when I got caught on it. So the boys have given it to me all week.
The Eagles face Valentine Phoenix on Sunday. Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
There was a hero's welcome for the Bash's return. They've spent the past week revving engines across the state for Newcastle's 20th annual Variety Club Bash. Entrants drove 3,000 kilometres raising money for children living with disabilities or disadvantage. And while they're all a little dustier and dirtier than when they left, their journey was a resounding success.
Welcome back, Super Hubert. How was it?
Oh, like always, absolutely fantastic. We've all raised over $300,000.
Dennis Peters and Peter Lavis were named this year's winners, clinching the Spirit of the Bash award.
It's a pretty coveted award and it's great to get.
The event's own Stig also claimed an award and even granted a rare interview.
We won the most enthusiastic virgin on the Bash in our reasonably priced car.
And with the 2011 Bash all wrapped up, it's time for these colourful characters to return to normality.
Will you be disappointed to have to go back to everyday life?
Oh,
yes.
Everyday life is just the time between bashes.
Madeleine McKell, NBN News.
On another one. Adriana trying to really put the pressure on Taj right now. Let's see if he gets get a couple of big maneuvers, get a big score. Good size wave right here. He gets a nice, unfortunately falls right into the trough.
Adriana D'Souza. We'd like to thank everybody for watching online on Fuel TV and of course the Brazilian surf fans. Thank you so much. We'll see you next year here in Rio.
Thank you very much, GT, and an emotional victory here for Adriana.
A late change to the card saw Aldo Rios replaced by Argentina's Diego Ponce, and just 3 rounds in, he proved to be a worthy opponent for Chad Bennett. Unfazed, Bennett did his best to fire up his rival. The crowd then answered the call to arms for the hometown favourite. As the fight wore on, Ponce seemed unaffected by a series of quick combinations. In round 5, a body shot stunned the South American. Bennett continued the attack and soon inflicted his first knockdown. By round 7, Ponce was down again. Seconds later, 1 killer blow from Hollywood and it was all over. Bennett is now hoping to bring multiple world title holder Eric Morales to Newcastle later this year.
Got some work done Tuesday, Wednesday and was able to hit golf shots Wednesday afternoon, so I'm just grateful out here playing and just nice and relaxed and enjoying it out here.
After 15 years in the sheds, the Patterson Classic is back. The course is tougher.
It's been pretty much brutal.
The competition fiercer.
World champions and looking to further careers.
And there's a new focus, the restoration and maintenance of the area's 7 National Trust listed churches.
They're wonderful old churches and the local community cannot support them any longer.
A group of cattle producers is behind the event's renewal.
They had been involved in the running of the event in the past and were looking to establish something similar again as a fundraising opportunity for the local church. So we saw great potential.
The group needs at least $30,000 annually for upkeep.
You probably need some hundreds of thousands to maintain them, but if we can get $30,000 a year, that holds it together quite well.
And judging by this year's success, the money will keep rolling in.
Everyone coming through transitions had a smile on their face.
I really enjoyed it. I'm not quite too sure how some of the punters went.
Lauren Bladwell, NBN News.
As the flag dropped on the 100k race, JL Rathbone was conspicuous by his absence at the front. On the first of 5 laps, a large group broke away to set the early pace. By lap 2, Andrew Arundel and the Hunters' Michael Curran stuck their noses in front. Despite winning yesterday's criterium, Rathbone hardly looked a threat, nestled comfortably within the bunch. Out in front, Arundel and Curran pushed each other to establish an even bigger lead. By lap 4, Rathbone had moved into position as the chasing pack edged closer. But the leaders still had a handy buffer. Into the final stretch and the pack swallowed up the pair before Rathbone bobbed his head on the line after a mad dash.
I back myself and like to think that I can win, but you know, today early on and particularly halfway through, I didn't know if I would get there or not.
In just its 3rd year, the event is now on the verge of going global.
We've got some very big news which isn't quite over the line for 2012. What I can say is that we have more events planned. We are going to make this a real festival.